It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
the Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, December 10th, 2012. So great to be back here with you for our second to last episode of 2012. Joined in the back, as always, by Isaac, Buzzkill Brendan, New York Rick. So much to discuss on this 2+ hour edition of the MMA Hour, as we are less than 48 hours removed from UFC on Fox number 5. Benson Henderson retaining his UFC lightweight title over Nathan Diaz, Alexander Gustafsson, defeating Shogun Rua, Rory McDonald, defeating BJ Penn, Matt Brown knocking out Mike Swick. What a great trip to Seattle we had. Yes, it was cold. Yes, it was cloudy. Yes, it was rainy, but it was great. As I mentioned last week, always wanted to go to Seattle. It was always on my wish list of American cities to visit. Big Sonics fan. I wouldn't say I was a big Sonics fan. They were kind of like my Western Conference team. And it was cool being there, going to the first Starbucks, the Pike Place Market, all that good stuff. The crowd was amazing all week long. They embraced the UFC, they embraced the event, and the ratings seem to have delivered. So a good weekend for the Ultimate Fighting Championship and a good weekend in MMA. Bellator had they didn't have a great event on Friday. They had some issues with food poisoning and whatnot, but Jessica I, who you saw on this very show a couple weeks back, performed greatly. We'll talk about everything that happened over the weekend in the third hour. We'll also get to Rick's picks for a loaded weekend of MMA action. Friday, you've got UFC on FX6. You've got the Australia versus UK tough finale. Hector Lombard versus Husimara Palhares. No one's talking about that fight. It's a great fight. George Soteropoulos versus Ross Pearson. Then on Saturday, perhaps the greatest tough finale of all time. I mean, you got Roy Nelson, Matt Mitrione. You've got the tough finale between Ricci and Colton Smith, Mike Ricci. And then some great fights. Pat Barry, Shane Del Rosario, Jamie Varner, Melvin Gillard. Great night of fights on Saturday night. So we'll talk about all of that. Hit us up with questions, comments, hashtag the MMA Hour on Twitter, or you can place a comment or a question in the post. If you're watching this live in the MMA Hour post, we'll get to that. Winner gets these Bloodlines UFC Tops cards. We'll tell you more about them when we give out the prizes, answer the questions and whatnot. In the second hour, we will talk to Pat Barry, who faces Shane Del Rosario. Always good to talk to Pat, Mr. HD himself. We will also talk to Gegard Mousasi. The Dreamcatcher returns to action on January 12th against Mike Kyle. Looking forward to talking to him. Miesha Tate. I didn't think we'd be talking to Miesha Tate this soon since her last appearance on the show, but a lot to talk to Miesha Tate about. We'll also be talking to Mike Ricci, who I mentioned earlier is in the Tough 16 finale against Colton Smith, and Liz Carmouche, who faces Ronda Rousey in the first ever women's title fight in UFC history, UFC 57 on February 23rd. But first, let us go to the phone lines and welcome in our very first guest of the day. He is one of, if not the top contenders at 170 pounds in the UFC. He is Big Rig himself, Johny Hendricks. Johnny, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. You?
I'm doing great. Great to have you on the show. I know you've been very busy over the last couple of days. Lots to get to with you. Let's get right into it. It appeared as though when Dana White said on Thursday at the UFC on Fox 5 press conference that GSP told him he wants to fight Nick Diaz next. Nick Diaz didn't even know about this. I'm wondering if you knew about this.
No, I had no idea. I was worried about it, Silva. You know what I mean? GSP fighting Silva. I didn't know that I was going to have to worry about somebody in my own weight class.
What was your reaction when you found out, and I'm sure your Twitter blew up, I'm sure your phone blew up, when you found out that it seems as though the UFC is going to go in this direction?
I was pissed that GSP wanted it. You know what I mean? Who cares what they say about you? Who cares about anything? Fight the number one contender. You know what I mean? I did everything I could to put myself into that kind of position, and then, just to get provoked or revoked away from me because of GSP wants something else.
Would you be okay, or would you have been okay, if they said GSP versus Anderson is next, and this is a super fight that we've wanted to make for a long time, et cetera, et cetera? Is that okay in your books, or is what's bothering you is that it's a guy in your division?
What's bothering me is it's a guy in my division. You know what I mean? Like I said, Anderson versus GSP. Yeah, that would suck, but I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? That's they're fighting to see who's actually the best of the best. You know what I'm saying? But not in this case.
What do you think this does? I mean, this year, this has been a very interesting year as far as title shots and whatnot, because guys have talked their way into title shots, other guys, who may not have deserved it, et cetera, et cetera. Now GSP is the champion, and, you could say that as champion, you get some rights. What do you think it says as far as the sport goes if they go in this direction?
Well, it looks like man, that's a tough question. You know what I mean? Because one, you're the champ. You do get some leeways, you know what I mean? But here's the thing, is that not whenever it's not that clear. You know what I'm saying? Condit just beat Nick, and GSP just beat Condit. So therefore, he shouldn't be in title contention. You know what I'm saying? Now, if Nick beat Condit, got hurt, and then Condit was able to fight GSP, and then GSP beat Condit, okay. You know what I'm saying? Okay, cool beans, whatever. But it's the totally opposite. And, here, while he's on suspension, I'm actually fighting to get my title shot, and then all of a sudden GSP throws his name out there in front of mine. I'm actually more mad at GSP. I don't care about, I'm not mad at anybody else but GSP for calling somebody else out.
Why do you think he did that?
Man, I think that he's trying to stay away from me. What else? What other reason is there? You know what I'm saying? I've tried to analyze it every which way, and he said because he talked trash. Who cares? I work out with guys that talk trash to me every day. You know what I mean? That's the point of our sport, is people do talk trash, and it's all fun and games. Who cares what somebody says over the internet or what they say to your face? You know what I mean? You fight to prove your worthiness. You know what I'm saying? That's the way that I look at it, and I feel like I've proved that I can go with GSP and that I should go with GSP, and here he is keeping me out of that.
So, that he's had a sort of long history with Nick, and they were supposed to fight in the past. Can you sit back and say, okay, maybe, he just wants some unfinished business, or do you truly believe that the only reason why he's doing this is because he doesn't want to fight you?
Well, here's the thing, is that he, like I said, they had a chance. Somebody didn't show up for press conferences and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And, who cares about the past? You know what I mean? Like I said, just because you have unfinished business, that's with me too. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because here I am supposed to be fighting you, and then GSP takes it away from me. You know what I'm saying? So now I have unfinished business with GSP.
So you're not the kind of guy who, you don't talk a lot of trash and you don't go on Twitter and stir up drama and whatnot. But it seemed like right when this happened, you were very active, asking the fans to speak on your behalf and talk to Dana White. And even you were tweeting Dana White and whatnot. Did you feel like you had to do something drastic in order to try to save this title shot?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Here's my whole mindset was, all right, if I didn't finish Camden, if I didn't finish my last 2 out of 3 fights, would I be fighting GSP? You know what I mean? That's what I was thinking, honestly. I was like, man, well, because why would he go? I'm clearly the number 1 contender. The rankings just came out. I'm number 2. Why would he skip me? You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, well, his boxing coach is saying, well, Johnny's a big, he's a big threat, but we just have unfinished business with this guy. I'm like, who cares? You know what I mean? I earned my spot. Why won't you fight me? Then your mind goes to, why wouldn't you fight me? You know what I mean? And then whenever I break it down, that's the only thing that I can come up with. Now, if GSP says something totally different, then okay. I'll hear what he has to say. But as of right now, that's the only thing that's logical to me, is that I do pose a big-time threat to that belt.
I was in Seattle when Dana broke this news, and immediately the reporters were asking, well, what about Johny Hendricks? And they were saying there's a possibility you may not want to fight and wait till you get your title shot. And Dana was kind of a little bit dismissive. He was like, no, he's going to fight. He'll fight someone. But then on Twitter, when you were tweeting him, he said, yeah, you deserve it and you'll get your title shot. So what is going on here? Like, what's the latest? That'll happen on Thursday. Where do we stand?
I don't know. My manager, hopefully, we'll be calling Dana today or Joe Silva today. We text Joe Silva yesterday because I know Joe really doesn't like to do too much. Mr. Silva doesn't like to do too much off of, right after a fight. He likes to take at least one day off. So hopefully today we'll hear from him and just see what happens. Just more or less, I thought my heart got ripped out of me. You know what I mean? I go out there and I try to do so much to prove that I am the one that should fight GSP, and then GSP takes that away from me. You know what I mean? And all it's doing is giving me more drive to want to fight him.
That's an interesting point, because I was going to ask you, let's just say, they go in that direction. They go in the GSP versus Diaz direction. Is there anything they can do to get you to fight again? Because then you're looking at a possibility of GSP Diaz. Let's say he wins, GSP Silva. I mean, you don't want to sit out for that long, do you?
No, and here's the thing. I don't. But it sucks that I'm even put in this situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it really boils down to. After that fight, I was so excited. I was like, man, GSP won. I know he's a tough opponent. I know this. And I was excited to get the shot to try to beat GSP. You know what I mean? Because he's at the top of your division. That's all you can think about day in and day out. That's all I've thought about since I've been in the UFC is getting the chance to fight GSP. And here he is stealing it from me. You know what I'm saying? Just because, they talked a little, or somebody's talked a little trash or did this. And, and not only that, but we don't know if the fight's going to happen because he gets off his suspension in February. So who's to say that he gets off February, then 5 months later they fight. And like you said, there's Anderson Silva. But do you think that's right for me to have to take another fight? You know what I'm saying? Just because somebody else decided my fate, not the company.
So at the end of the day, you say you're more mad at GSP, but you could be mad at the UFC too, right? Because, and I'm not trying to get you in trouble here, but they don't have to agree to what he's saying. That they could say, look, this guy deserves it. You'll get your chance if you beat him. Go through the number one guy.
Yes, but what I've also thought about too is, okay, well, obviously, maybe the UFC believes I can beat GSP.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe they believe too that I have what it takes to beat GSP, because then they're, because like Dana said, GSP hasn't asked for anything, and then I'm supposed to fight GSP. So it's a hard question, but what it all boils down to is GSP came to them. You know what I'm saying? And like he said, is that hopefully if I'm champion, I mean, I would never do that. You know what I mean? Come out here and call somebody out that's not the number one contender. But, you also got to say, okay, Dana, I understand that you want to keep, your champion happy. Because what if, there is that, what if I go out there and I don't beat GSP and then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you think they're trying to protect him?
No, I don't think that. But, what if, like I said, if I go out there and I beat GSP, then GSP and Nick Diaz can fight anyways.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm trying to say is that if, give me that shot. If I win, awesome. They can still fight. You know what I mean? If I lose, then they can still fight. So it's a win-win situation.
How have you digested this news since Thursday? Because right now you sound like you just found out the news 5 minutes ago. You sound very fired up. This was 4 or so days ago. I mean, like, how are you feeling now about the sport and your job? Because I try to put myself in your shoes. If someone promised, or at least there was something on the horizon, and then I'm told, man, you're going to have to probably wait longer than you even thought to get this prize, I would be pretty bitter.
You know, I am. But then again, you know, my fans are keeping me insane. You know what I mean? Because the support that I got that day was amazing. And, you know, it's just one of those things, man. I pretty much, what I've been doing is a lot of praying. You know, to absolutely be honest with you, is that because every day, every second that I'm training, all I can think about is GSP. You know what I mean? And what has done here. And, you know, and I know you're saying that it could be, you know, it could be a little bit of the UFC's fault, but I'm not going to blame them. You know what I mean? But yes, every time this gets put into, somebody asks me, all I want to do is look across, see GSP and punching. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I can think about is taking that belt or getting a shot to take that belt from him. You know what I'm saying? And it makes me, like, even still today, I'm here training, I'm watching videos to fight GSP because I'm not going to give up hope. And I really, really, truly believe that I am the number one contender. I should be fighting, and hopefully he comes to his senses.
Is there any consolation prize out there? Is there anyone, you know, of any weight class, any name that you would say, okay, I'll take this, beat this guy up, and then I'll get what is mine?
No, you know, man, if it's not the champ, there is really, you know what I mean? There really isn't. You know, we fight every day, and we fight to be our best every night that we have a fight to get to the champ. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And here I am. I know that I'm the number one contender. I know this, and I know this. And so anything less is not a disrespect to anybody else, but it's just, you know, you see the end of the tunnel, and then somebody's trying to send you a curveball. You know what I mean? Send you off route. And there's really nothing more, I guess, antagonist or makes me want to fight them.
Right.
But then again, it's, you know, that's my manager's job. If there's somebody out there that I have to fight, then I just leave that to my manager. My manager and Joe Silva, they say, all right, Johnny, you know, all I want to know is date and time and who. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping, you know, again, I'm really, really hoping that it is GSP, maybe April, May, whatever, and we'll see.
By the way, Johnny, I'm getting a good question from my friend Felix from China online right now, and he's asking me, would you be interested in maybe fighting Nick for a chance to fight GSP, like a real number one contender fight, or does that not fly with you?
Well, why should I have to fight somebody who just lost?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what really boils down to is a guy just lost and he's on suspension. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, every fight, you try to advance yourself. You try to advance yourself. You try to advance yourself. And I think this is going to be the first time that, or, you know, maybe the second time that a loser is going to fight a champion. You know what I mean? Somebody who just came off a loss is going to get a shot at a champion. And, you know, if that's the case, then who's to say, okay, I take a fight. If I lose, do I still get a shot at the title?
Right. Of course, Chael Sonnen fighting John Jones in April. A couple more questions before we let you go. What do you make of Jake Shields trying to stir it up with you?
Oh, Jake Shields. I laugh. You know what I mean? Again, like I said, he poses nothing. He doesn't advance my cause at all. You know what I mean? My cause is to be a number one contender and to keep it. You know what I'm saying? Where he was 2-2, I think, in the UFC and won at 170.
Yeah, something like that.
And
he just went down to 185. Went up to 185.
And he just went up to 185. What he's trying to do is, hey, I don't blame him. You know, I have a target on my back. So now people are going to start trying to call me out. You know what I'm saying? And I like that position. I just want the belt in my hand. You know what I mean? So that way, whenever they do it, it means a little bit more.
Final thing, let's just say GSP is listening right now. What's your message to him?
Don't be scared. Fight me, pretty much. Please. You know what I'm saying? Please put me in that octagon with you. And if you believe that you can win that bad, and, you know, if you believe that you can honestly win, fight me and prove it. And if you prove it, then I'm not going to sit here and say a word. You know what I mean? I lost. If you're better than me, you prove it that night. I'm going to say, dude, he was better than me. He's a better fighter than me. I need to go back and learn, right? But don't take it away from me from throwing somebody else in there.
Good luck to you, Johny. I think you put forth a very strong case. Feel for you. I know how fired up you are. I know how devastated you are, and especially if you can't get the title shot. But I think you represented yourself very well here today, and I hope for your sake that you do get what you do believe is yours. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and good luck when you talk to Joe or Dana or anyone in the UFC trying to get some answers. We look forward to seeing what they come up with for you.
Hey, thank you so much. You have a wonderful day, okay?
You too. There he is, Johny Hendricks, coming on the show, speaking from the heart, telling us why he does believe he deserves a shot at GSP next. And it's hard to disagree with him. It's hard to disagree with everything that he put forth and put on the table there. And I am very interested to see how this all plays out. Nick Diaz has yet to accept the fight. Nick Diaz has yet to been offered the fight. This is very fresh, and I think we'll start to get some answers sooner rather than later. A huge curveball thrown by UFC President Dana White on Thursday at the UFC on Fox press conference.